Hi everyone, Manuel Barria here. Today I will talk about the presentation and overview the jewel scarab genus Chrysina from Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador. This work is a synopsis of the book about the revision of the genus Chrysina, published by the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. You can download for free the PDF version if you scan the QR code. For this work, a total of 29 institutional private collections were consulted. They provide many important data about the distribution localities. So thank you for all the institutions that provide the data of the specimens of Chrysina in their collection. The field trips were made between the years 2021 and 2022, both in Panama and Ecuador. Leaving for Colombia, only the consultation of the database and remote collection. Okay, so the genus Chrysina. They are member of the subfamily Rutelines. Currently, we have 127 species described, many in descriptions. The species are found from the southwestern of the United States to southern of Ecuador. Normally, we can collect the species in primate forests to elevation between 1,200 to 2,300. But in some cases, very especially, we can find species to low elevation, like 50 meters, or very, very high, like 3,800 meters. In the new country records, we have for Panama, Chrysina tricolor, Chrysina calcotia, and Chrysina cuprimarginata. For Colombia, we have the new record confirmed the species Chrysina mercedesi. We have too the description of the females of two species, Chrysina italica and Chrysina galvina, both species present in Panama. These are the female plates, and these are the females. Another thing that you can find in the work is that we fix the problem about Chrysina ohausi, and is that for many years, many scientific believe that it's not a valid species, it's a synonym, but we can see that with the new type, we can separate the species Chrysina ohausi from Chrysina battesi. This is the new type that is deposited in the Museum of the Universidad de Panama. It's a female because if you see the male spermers don't have clearly difference. It's in the female place when you can see the difference of the species. Another one is the case of Chrysina wolfi, that for many years the people think that it's a very strange species, but no, it's a chromatic variation. It's a golden beetle, the variation of Chrysina argentiola. This type of color you can find too in the sister species that is Chrysina sidorum. Both species have this variation, very golden, so it's not a valid species, it's a synonym of Chrysina argentiola. So let's go start about the species group. Currently we have 20 species group. These are the groups. In Panama we can find 10 species group, and in Colombia and Ecuador only 2 species group. So the first group is Aurora group. We can find Chrysina aurora, that is the typical species of the group, and the other 5 species. They are normally green, but the only 2 species that have metallic coloration is Argentiola and Sidorum. The other species are very greenish, very nice beetles. This is the distribution map. You can see that have a very wide distribution. From Panama, we have 4 species of the group, and in Colombia and Ecuador only 2 species. Sidorum only in Ecuador. The next two groups is Batesi group with 3 species and Burkardi group with 2 species. In the Batesi group, we found very metallic species like Batesi, Guaimi, and Ohausi. Guaimi is very different because have a mate coloration, not breedness like Ohausi and Batesi. And in Burkardi group, we found two very beautiful species, that is Burkardi, golden. The specimens from Panama are golden, not like greenish or pinkish, like the specimen from Costa Rica. And Chrysina kunihami, that is reddish. This is the more big species in Panama. It's very huge. The distribution map of the Batesi group, you can see that is very close to the continental mountains in Chiriquí, and the Bucardi group, the very endemic species in the La Comarca with Cunninghami. At the moment, only we can find Bucardi in the area near to Boquete in Chiriquí. The Chrysargyria group with 3 species, Chrysargyria and Limbata. They are silvery metallic coloration, very typical of the group. And the Magnistriata group, only for Chrysina magnistriata. The 2 species, Chrysargyria and Limbata, and Magnistriata. The distribution map of Chrysargyria, we only have one record of Limbata in Panama in Fortuna. And the Magnistriata group, very big distribution. You can see very typical from Chiriquí to La Comarca. The next group, and probably the more typical beetle that you can imagine when somebody tells you about the scarab genus Chrysina. They are golden, is the resplendent group with 5 species. Oh, well, mostly of them are golden. Calcotea is like more greenish, very dark greenish. Tapantina is a golden, more darkness. The other species is Chrysina marginata, Chrysina calinini, Chrysina resplendens. The distribution map is the group with the best distribution, many records. Is one of the most common groups in Panama with many records. You can see the distribution. The next two groups, Optima group with 3 species, Optima, Tricolor, and Valentini, and Auricola group only for Chrysina auricola. The 3 species of Optima have a very typical genitalia. They are very close to Auricola, but the clypeus of Auricola is subchordate, so that is the character that we use for separate of the Optima group. The distribution map, we can see the distribution of Optima group, very nice. With Auricola, only we have the type locality in Panama, that is Cerro Fabrega, very close to the border with Costa Rica. It's a problem though to this location because it's very far away. The next group, Marginata and Veraguana, 3 species in each group. The 3 species, Chrysina marginata, Chrysina radcliffeae, Chrysina fidontophalica, all the species are greenish. The Veraguana group with Chrysina veraguana, Chrysina galbina, and Chrysina mercedesi. We can separate the groups because the species from the Veraguana group have the striations in the elytra. In the Marginata group, they are very small, don't have stria. The distribution, we have one of the best sample for maybe understand the distribution of the genus in Panama and how they move from Costa Rica across in Panama to Colombia and Ecuador. And it's the species Chrysina radcliffeae. We can see the distribution. They make this, and that is how probably they pass to the south of Colombia and Ecuador. So the geography of the Chrysina species in Panama, Colombia. These are all the records from Panama. We can see the distribution across the mountain range, the central mountain range in Panama. We can see how they pass and they move to from the west of the country to the east, and they across the area of Chocó in Colombia and how they move in the Pacific slope to the soup. But if you see, they don't pass the mountain, and that is probably because it's so cool for the species because probably the genus come from the north to the south. So probably when they arrive to this area, the mountains are so cool. They don't have the vegetation. So probably that is the one of the principal problems why the genus don't move more to the south. What is next? Well, I am working in the second book that is a revision about the May beetles of the genus Phylophara. I know, a very, very interesting group. Probably we publish in 2025 or 2026. It's a very big project. I can tell you that I have many new species. So I hope that you can see in the next months of the next year many about this work because I know that go to fix many problems about the genus. That is all. Thank you, gracias, obrigado, everyone. Thank you for seeing the presentation. Any question that you have, you can do it. So see you the next year.